I think I'm entitled.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I woke up this morning, got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man?
That was his biggest concern, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. How am I going to explain to my old man that I lost Grandpa's rifle after I used it to kill Charlie Kirk? Now, I did that. He did not say it, but that's where we are. That was the Salt Lake City, Utah prosecutor reading some of the communications going back and forth between Tyler Robinson and his transgender roommate, Lance Twiggs. Twiggs has not been charged with a crime, but they're still looking at it because the timing of what he knew and when he knew it and what he did or did not do, that's still suspect in several areas. Judging by that conversation you just heard, he had knowledge that it had not been done, or maybe it was right after and he could have notified authorities. I can start speculating a lot, but let's just say there are a lot of questions, okay? There is no question in the mind of former President Barack Obama, by the way. Oh, yeah, he put his footprint down in this, and he said, basically, you need to blame Trump for this, implying that. He said, extreme views were not in my White House. Really? We will get into that in more detail as we move forward, and he's not the only one stepping out on that limb and claiming, not me, not us. You're either lying, which I say you are, or you're just absolutely, totally clueless, which you could also be. Welcome to hour number one, Larry Connors USA. We're here every Monday through Friday for you from 6 to 8 p.m. And with Larry Connors USA, you are going to get news, analysis, opinion, and education. You leave each hour with more knowledge and information than you had as we began. I make sure that we give you so much information. You can keep a log or journal entry, whatever you want, or even if you can't stay with us all the way through, you can later pull up a podcast. I'll tell you how. But I'll remind you right now that while we're on the air, we are streaming video. You can watch the program. Very easy. Go to NewsTalkSTL, Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. Larry Connors USA, Rumble, or Facebook. And then everything goes up as a podcast later, audio and video. Available at NewsTalkSTL, LarryConnorsUSA.com, and Larry Connors USA Facebook. Let me give you a preview of what's coming up in our second hour. Dr. Gilda is going to join us again. Fascinating interview, subject all the time. And the question being raised is, are feminists leading the actual Marxist movement, that they're in charge? I want to hear her view on that coming up later. And later in this hour, AQSTL. Do you know what that means? Never heard of it, have you? I had neither until the Charlie Kirk shooting. That's Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. And there are questions if the shooter might have been involved with them. And do they have any role to play in any of this? What we do know is they've been actively scrubbing their social media platform. You can't hide it. It's already been there, but they're apparently in the process of doing that. My guest coming up later in this hour will get into more details. I want to go back to some of the comments that Utah District Attorney Jeff Gray was explaining in context of the text messages going back and forth between Tyler Robinson and his lover, his roommate, Lance Twiggs.
The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry."
That roommate had previously been kicked out of his own parents' house over issues surrounding substance abuse, gender identity, and a video game addiction. That's according to a relative of the roommate. He'd been living with his grandparents when his father had kicked him out, and he is in the process of transitioning from male to female. And then he was sharing that apartment in southwest Utah with 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, now accused of assassinating Kirk. We, by everything so far, don't see anything that any additional money went to the accused shooter to carry out any of these acts. But this goes back to something we need to be aware of. There are groups in this community, in our communities, that do want to fund violence. They hide behind different labels. And Vice President Vance said, "We will treat you like a terrorist organization."
If you are encouraging people to commit acts of violence against the United States government or against your fellow Americans, absolutely, you're involved in a terrorist movement. I don't know enough about that particular organization, but what you increasingly see is you see people in the trans community and other members of the far left who are saying they are so threatened by negative rhetoric that they must take arms and attack people. If your movement is telling you to commit acts of violence against people for speaking words that you don't like, number one, you're evil. And number two, you are engaged in a terrorist movement. And that's part of what we have to root out in the White House. And this is very important. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've talked to Stephen Miller probably 7 times in the past 2 days. We are working very hard to ensure that the funding networks for left-wing violence, that the radicalization networks for left-wing violence, that if you encourage or fund your fellow Americans or anybody else to commit acts of violence because you disagree with political speech, you are going to be treated like a terrorist organization, and we're going to go after you.
And you should be. And that, again, might refer to the armed queers of Salt Lake City. We'll be discussing them in a few moments with my guest. The Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna points out also, if there are foreign governments involved in exploiting our kids on our college campuses or elsewhere, we're coming after you as well.
What we're finding is that what Charlie was fighting, this indoctrination that was taking place on college campuses, these weren't just, liberal professors from the 60s that had been radicalized, right? Like, this is actually a foreign government funded operation. And a lot of these left-wing organizations that have been pushing these violent riots, the targeted campaigns, a lot of the people that have associations with these groups that are calling for assassinations of the president, of conservative commentators, and even of, Charlie's family are tied to these organizations.
And Antifa comes to mind immediately. We saw them in Portland. We saw them through the Black Lives Matter group. We know a lot of money was being poured into them. Who was sending the money? And how do we hold them accountable and responsible? That was actually part of the debates between Trump and Biden back in 2020.
Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left.
FBI director.
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. That's what his FBI. His FBI director said.
Well, then, you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in your administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
all right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now.
And Biden saying Antifa was not a real organization. It was an idea. Biden, your idea of an organization was in the streets, burning and feuding with police and law enforcement. The vulgar comments have been made about Charlie Kirk since his death and before, but certainly since then, are very upsetting, but still, quote, free speech. However, Jimmy Kimmel found out your employer can decide you cannot make those comments here.
Jimmy Kimmel seen leaving his studio Wednesday after ABC put Jimmy Kimmel Live on hold indefinitely. Monday, the late-night host made this comment about the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
In response, Chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee, said this about broadcast networks while on a conservative podcast.
And they have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Soon after, local broadcast groups Sinclair and Nexstar announced they'd preempt Kimmel. Then ABC announced it would pull the host indefinitely.
And I'm not losing any sleep over it. I never bothered watching them anyway. They were no longer late-night entertainment. They were political propaganda machines. Johnny Carson had made it very clear. He'd been asked at one point, he said, you're not going to see Jack Benny, Red Skelton, any of them start taking down political issues. They're to entertain and make people laugh. That's what I do. And whenever there was anything that might poke fun at the existing president, which Carson would do sometimes, he would also poke fun at others. But it was never with malice, and it was never trying to sway an audience. It was never to generate hate, and violence. But then you look at the ladies of The View and the stuff they're doing on there. Joy Behar is, again, a perfect example. She's just off in Never Land.
People involved in the public deserve to know.
I feel as though... Take a breath. Take a deep breath. Take a breath. Joy, take a breath. I feel like we're trapped in a bad movie. Yeah. Like you've got these incompetent people running the government, and we're like a bunch of sitting ducks. You've got the puppy killer. You've got the Signal Kate guy. What's his name? Headset. No. You've got the brain worm. You've got, there's no end to the incompetency that we are experiencing as Americans. Yeah. So that I can almost not even talk about individual situations like this, because the overall picture and the elephant in the room is that we're screwed.
Well, Alyssa,
An incompetent government now. I never heard her say anything even close to that during the Biden administration. And we're paying for that incompetence even now. But again, Barack Obama, as I said at the beginning of this hour, was being interviewed at the Jefferson Educational Society in Pennsylvania. And he was mourning Kirk's death, saying it was horrific. But he made sure to recite, and according to this writing, and this came from Breitbart, so I'll give you the source every time. I'm not trying to hide it from you. Breitbart is right-leaning. They say that Obama made sure to recite and, quote, I should say in parentheses, inaccurate laundry list of Kirk's more controversial statements, including a false claim that Kirk claimed black women were stupid. He never said that. Obama then said Trump wants to use Kirk's assassination, quote, as a rationale for trying to silence discussion around who we are as a country and what direction we should go. Obama then claimed that he had been in the White House, saying, those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of this U.S. government behind extremist views. Stop me for 1 second here. Did he not send the Attorney General of our nation to Ferguson to investigate the Michael Brown shooting that involved a police officer and Michael Brown? When do you send the weight of the entire federal government to investigate such a shooting? And when do you basically stand back and let cities burn and marches continue into the night when violence would happen because the legitimate marchers got hijacked by criminals? Keep in mind, Obama also backed the Occupy Wall Street protest. And radical Al Sharpton. And he wants to say, but I've been above all this. While he also met with racist, anti-Semite, Jew-hater Louis Farrakhan. And he met with him before he was elected president, and they were trying to keep that picture from ever being shown while he was running for office. But he met with him. Coming up, your education continues, and the question being, who are the armed queers of Salt Lake City? Were they involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk in any way whatsoever? In any way whatsoever. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
In all of these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington. Back pain? Follow me to Esquire Sports Medicine, where they've got your back. Esquire is the oldest sports medicine clinic in St. Louis. Dr. Draghi and his team of chiropractors can get you back to work, back to life without the pain. New patients usually scheduled within 24 hours. 314-644-0885. 644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com. Another day must be another roofer in town. And John Beal and I were talking. He said, every time you turn around, there's a new roofing company. Many of them have no idea what they're doing, and the statistics show that many will be out of business within 2 to 5 years. Who are you going to call to help you then? You need to remember only one name, John Beal. John Beal Roofing. You have a problem, he can take care of it, and we'll be here for you. John Beal Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. The Oak Street Inn and Lounge has some great news. The Speakeasy will now be open on Sundays, starting at 2. Open to the public. Great for those in the industry who'll want to enjoy a Sunday fun day. Plus, enjoy sushi and cocktails. What more could you want? You want to make sure you get the code. And how do you get the code to the Speakeasy? You go to the Facebook, Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook. I'll see you at Oak Street Inn and Lounge in Cottleville.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Welcome back. Until just the other day, I did not know anything about the AQSLC, the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. They are a legitimate organization. They had a Facebook posting and all kinds of social media, but they've been really scrubbing it since the death of Charlie Kirk. And, of course, that shooting took place in Utah, Salt Lake City, the capital of it. A man I have as a guest can give us more background details. Seamus Bruner is also Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. By the way, he's got a book out I want to discuss before we wrap up with him. Controliarchs, I should say, exposing the billionaire class, their secret deals, and the globus plot to dominate your life. Seamus, first of all, welcome aboard.
Hey, Larry, it's great to be with you.
So this Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, what do we know about it?
Yeah, so it's not an official organization. It doesn't have a corporate filing. It's much like Antifa in that way. And it's been around for a number of years, about 5 years. It's led by a transgender individual named Ermaya Fanayan. He was born in Iran. He's been involved with all kinds of left-wing causes with the ACLU, a World Economic Forum entity called the Utah Global Diplomacy Project, and decided to set up a group that takes transgender or pro-transgender individuals to the gun range, which we're pro-Second Amendment, pro-gun rights.
Yeah.
And so there's not a problem with that per se, but we have not found a connection directly to the shooter of Charlie Kirk. However, the FBI has announced that the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City is under investigation, potentially in relation to the shooting. They haven't said that there is a direct connection or not.
And it is true that they're
yesterday, the State Department announced that it would be severing ties because our U.S. taxpayer dollars were going to that Utah Global Diplomacy Project associated with the founder of this group. The State Department's no longer going to be funding that group.
Whoa. Help me understand. We were funding Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, or were they funding a group that was above them or had them in their midst? Help me understand that.
Yes, this founder of the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City is affiliated with a number of Democrat projects. It was even working with the DNC at one point. The State Department was not funding the Armed Queers Project. It was funding another project that touted this transgender founder of the Armed Queers.
But it was under the umbrella of what the State Department was funding.
Yes, sir.
You said that there's no clear connection at this point to Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. But I did see and hear, and you have to verify for me, they did have a big social media presence, but they've been wiping it out and trying to basically scrub their sites. Is that correct?
That's right. That's what got us interested even before the FBI started investigating them, was immediately following the same day as Kirk's assassination, this group started deleting all their social profiles. And so we've got a couple of tools. I lost you there for a second.
Oh, now we got you back.
Tools. Yep. We got tools for digging up the social medias and all the scrub stuff. So we took screenshots and made archives of all the stuff they were scrubbing.
All right. Well, they also pointed out that they, they talk about transgender ideology and connect it to Marxist infiltration, trips to Cuba that apparently never were explained, money traced with the operatives all the way to Beijing. I mean, the group itself has to. I'm surprised it's just been sitting there all this time.
It's a shocking number of left-wing Marxist groups in this country. This Armed Queers of Salt Lake City went to Cuba to get Marxist training on revolutions. And the group in Cuba there's a number of them, but the group that they were affiliated there's the Venceramos Brigade, the Mayday Brigade, and a few other entities in Cuba are bankrolled and backed by an individual named Neville Roy Singham. Now, my colleague Peter Schweitzer has exposed Neville Roy Singham as a CCP agent or a CCP operative. He lives in Shanghai, and he has been fomenting unrest in the United States for years, whether Black Lives Matter, the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles, and some of the pro-Hamas demonstrations in New York City.
Well, the other thing is, even if there's no direct tie to Tyler Robinson, I don't know if he knew of them or not. I don't know if he had any contact. I haven't seen anything to that effect. I don't know if you have. But if we know they're there and they're fomenting a hate, and they're going to the gun range, exercising their Second Amendment right, they could say for protection, that's acceptable. But are they any indication they were going there to target and make sure they were good sharpshooters, marksmen?
Yeah, well, I see that all of their, literature and their merchandise, it's all long guns, which, of course, long guns are fine. But if it's for self-defense, you'd think there'd be some more pistol training and less rifle and long gun training. You know, if they're thinking that they're going to be targeted in the city, you're not bringing your rifle with you.
We want to be very careful, obviously, that we don't get wrapped up in the conspiracy-type theories that are going around. But in your mind, and based on what you've seen and so forth, do you have any doubt that they might have had, whether directly influence on Tyler Robinson, but some that might be around him? In other words, he was aware of them?
Well, here's what I know. They should be investigated regardless of the Tyler Robinson killing of Charlie Kirk. There's, again, no evidence other than the fact that you have to be a decent shot to take a long shot like that, but that's not evidence of anything. The point about the Armed Queers is that they have been affiliated with another group. They did trainings with the John Brown Gun Club of Elm Fork, and one of those members was found to have shot an ICE agent down in Texas. So their affiliates have committed criminal violence, tried to murder an ICE agent in Texas. And even if you separate this from the Tyler Robinson killing of Charlie Kirk, this group needs to be investigated and possibly brought to justice, because they're talking about revolution, which seems like a conspiracy against the United States.
And hiding behind the Second Amendment in the process. I want to talk about your book briefly. Controlling Arcs. I probably misstated it. Controlling Arcs, exposing the billionaire class, secret deals, and the globalist plot to decimate, or rather to dominate our life, although I'd say decimate as well. Fill me in a bit.
Yes, sir. So thank you, Larry. My book, Controligarchs, it's the word control plus the word oligarchs. It's a term I made up. These are the oligarchs who want to control your life. It exposes George Soros, his son, Alex Soros, who is the heir apparent to the Soros dark money empire. A lot of these billionaire left-wing foundations that are funding the chaos, like Antifa and the anti-ICE riots and the stuff like that. It's got also Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab, and he's going to be taken over by BlackRock head Larry Fink. The whole chapter on BlackRock and digital ID, central bank digital currencies, this kind of techno future, this dystopian future that they've got planned for us, where it's really like anarcho-tyranny, where you have groups like Antifa who are allowed to run amok, hopefully not for long, funded by billionaires, and then anybody who protests gets censored or canceled or shut down. You know, things look like they're going in the right direction under this administration, but these guys are very powerful and rich enough to bide their time until a new administration. So it's a very important read.
All right. Again, I want to thank you for your time. Seamus Bruner, and the Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. Again, the book, just look, Controlarchy. I apologize for stumbling over it, sir. I like it. I like your word. I like your word. I'm just stumbling on it. I apologize.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it's oligarchs, controligarchs.
I got it. Thank you very much, Seamus. I appreciate it.
Right.
Coming up, just when you thought the left was all about making sure that you understood that there are two genders and yet they're not, here comes a member of Congress complaining because women, to go into the FBI, have to do a pull-up, and she's claiming they're not capable. These people are once again eating their tail.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
I can tell you how to get a free quick quiz to see how artificial intelligence can boost your company's potential. You go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. St. Louis Business Magazine listing PRI as one of the leading IT companies, and PRI has its own AI lab to develop what your business needs. priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. You want the best place to watch baseball or any sport and be able to enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys? Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit has so many events each month. You need to constantly check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. You don't want to miss anything. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting. Hey, looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Anderson. Anderson products increase your home value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window, $729 off every patio or entry door, and ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service replacement division of Anderson. That's a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. Renewal by Anderson has FiberX frames, 20% stronger than vinyl, built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Anderson backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation, rbastl.com, or call 877-WINDOWS, 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson, superior products, exceptional service.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. It means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is News Talk STL.
Jesse got trapped in a coal mine, digging in the dark black pearl. Jesse got trapped in a coal mine, never did marry his girl. There ain't nowhere and there ain't no light, and there ain't no way to make it out alive. His wedding was planned for the 5th of July, but Jesse got trapped in a coal mine and never did marry his girl.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
One question I had is, that you are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents
are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing one pull-up is not harsh, and there are always medical exemptions to that.
Oh, my God. There you have it. There you have it fully exposed. Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii questioning Kash Patel. We think that you're being too harsh on the women. We want more women in the FBI, but you're requiring them to do a pull-up. Are you requiring them to do a pull-up? And they're not capable of doing that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought they were fully equal in ability to do everything. And yes, there are women that can do not one, but numerous in the military and the FBI, and even in high school. But suddenly this gender separation thing and proclaiming that, girls should be treated like men and men should just have to deal with it, let the girls deal with the man transgender in their sport. Now suddenly you have a Democrat senator upset because women might have to be capable of doing a pull-up. Now, I didn't hear that wrong. I know I didn't hear it wrong. Let's listen to it again, though.
One question I had is, that you are now requiring applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences. Are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
There are differences. Huh?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents
are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason I ask is that there are concerns about whether or not being able to do these kinds of harsh pull-ups is really required of FBI agents.
Doing one pull-up is not harsh, and there are always medical exemptions to that.
It's not harsh to have them do that. And if they're physically unable, not because of gender, but because of something else, then they take that into account. You know what we called women Marines? BAMs, badass Marine. And those women could do numerous pull-ups, sometimes more than the men. And there are many women out there that can do numerous pull-ups as well. I'm not sure how many I could do nowadays. I'll be the first to admit that. But now suddenly, well, that's unfair to women that you had them do the same qualification as the men. Well, there you have just acknowledged there's a difference in sexes. Is that right? A difference in genders? Yes, Larry, you're correct in your question. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, at the same time, you've got transgenders going into sports. Peyton McNabb in a volleyball tournament, spiked by a transgender opponent, knocking her unconscious, leaving her with a traumatic brain injury. UN Women, that's a group inside the UN, still aggressively promoting transgender agenda, even named a biological male as the UK champion for women's rights. They wanted you to believe that women are the same and equal and better, and that transgenders can compete with them as well, and the women should be able to manage that. And yet here's the Hawaii senator saying, well, these might be too hard for some women. It might be too hard for some men. There will be some men that won't pass it. They are so convoluted in their thinking. As I said earlier, they are like a snake that begins to eat its own tail. It doesn't realize what it's doing. Oh my gosh, I'm destroying my very principle I stand on. Speaking of principles and someone who does not have them, former Secretary of State Hillary Benghazi Clinton. She posted a picture supporting the American Federation of Teachers chief Randy Weingarten's new book, who suggested her political opponents are fascist. And Clinton posted on this picture, "Congratulations to my friend on why fascists fear teachers. From banning books to controlling curriculum, authoritarians go after public education because it's a cornerstone of democracy." Not the way it's been doing in our schools. It's not education, it's indoctrination. But she says Randy's new book is a critical read for this moment. You know what she meant by this moment? Because with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we've got these fascists out there that we need to deal with. She didn't say that directly about Charlie, but that's the implication. Yesterday, I did an extended deep dive for you on what fascism is. I'm going to gloss over it a little bit here today, and I'm going to spend as much time on it. If you go to Google and use AI, their artificial intelligence search, what is fascism? Here are the opening words. Fascism is a far right. It doesn't have to be identified as far right. Not when I read the rest of what it explains, but they intentionally put that in there to fit the narrative the left wants to push upon Trump and anyone who's conservative. Fascism is a far right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology defined by a dictatorial leader, the forceful suppression of opposition, the prioritization of national interest over individual rights. Is most famously associated with Benito Mussolini's Italy and Adolf Hitler's Germany. And then they began to talk about, deep down in the discussion, they acknowledge that fascists and fascism all rely on this, but they talk about things like dictators. That would be like China and Russia, North Korea. forceful suppression of opposition, as what the Biden administration was doing to parents who showed up at PTA meetings complaining about why are you indoctrinating our children instead of educating, putting national interest over individual rights, as the Biden administration was doing. If the AI, artificial intelligence, had been legitimately trying to give you an answer, it would have stricken those two words far right. It could have said fascism is an authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology. I would have no issue with that. That's true. But they want you to believe it's a creation of the far right. And, of course, Hitler, which brings you right back to Donald Trump, which is what they're after anyway, right? Reverend Clinton choosing to promote this new book, Why Fascists Fear Teachers, it is entirely meant to go after Trump and MAGA people. You understand that. I understand it. And she knows it too. But they got these limp minds following them that give me more Jell-O and I'm happy. Matt Whitlock on X posted, it's been 1 week since Charlie Kirk was murdered by a lunatic who wrote about fascists on shell casings. Now, Randy Weingarten has a new book arguing everyone who disagrees with her views on public education, which had destroyed public education in America, is a fascist. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. I want to close out this hour with something involving Charlie and his wife, Erica. They did an interview one time together. One of the questions, which of you is more conservative? You'll want to hear this story when we continue.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli Kirkwood.
This is Larry Connors, USA. Larry Connors, USA.
My wife joins us, Erica Kirk,
Hi,
the beautiful,
everyone.
legendary Erica.
I love you so much.
I love you.
You're my best friend.
Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. We have asked the audience for questions. You pick one.
Who is more conservative and why?
Erica,
Yes.
by far. Not even close. I am a moderate compared to Erica.
Andrew always jokes that once you got married to me, you got more based.
That's true. That is true. No, Erica is very conservative. Do you think having kids made you more conservative?
100%. Which I didn't think was possible. But 100%. Absolutely.
And do you
and
think,
a better wife.
Mm-hmm.
That exchange between a couple that loved each other. I know there's some that are probably listening out there mocking it. There'd been another clip I'd seen with Charlie and Erica talking about when they first met. She was going into Turning Point USA, see about getting a job. Charlie admits that when he saw her come in, said, "Who is that? Find out who that is for me." And then he did a sit-down with her, and she thought it was to be a job interview. What he was really doing is trying to understand really more about her, and obviously entranced with her beauty. He's boy meets girl. Typical story, regardless of your politics. And they said, after they had this meeting, what she thought was an interview, he said, "I'm not going to hire you. I want to date you." She said, "What?" I thought I was for it. "No, I want to date you." So she called her parents and told her. They asked, "Well, how did the interview go?" She said, "I didn't get the job, but I maybe have a new boyfriend." And then he continued to romance her and go out with other couples. And share more of himself and what he thought and hear what she thought. She's got the memories. But at night, except for the kids if they crawl in bed with her, it's a lonely night. Even though you hold the faith in God, it's a lonely night for a spouse left behind after losing their loved partner. Keep them in your prayers, will you? And pray for those that are going out trying to carry the Turning Point USA to the next level. They're getting so many coming forward wanting to be part of it and to join it. Make it bigger. But as I told you yesterday, in fact, I'm ran a commentary today that as they set up their booths in Georgia at one point, some are mocking them, one even coming forward to mock like he was shot in the neck like Charlie Kirk. He thinks it's funny. You don't have to like Charlie Kirk. You can have differences with him. That was the whole idea. But he did put you to the test. Can you defend your beliefs? Coming up in our next hour, we see Mondani pushing Marxism for New York City, but there's a new question. Are feminists really running the Marxist movement right now? And remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcasts of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call to John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill. You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40, 314-644-0885, EsquireSportsMedicine.com, EsquireSportsMedicine.com. Great patio season to enjoy any of the Cafe Napoli locations. How about the Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield? Enjoying coal-fired pizza, nothing else like it. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. A few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, where you can enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys. Check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook for details, plus gift cards for friends. I'll see you at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as Support Dogs for Our Brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Question: are you looking to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence for your business? I want you to meet my friends at PRI Global, named by the St. Louis Business Journal as a leading IT consulting firm. 25 years helping local and worldwide companies. PRI Global has a free survey to determine where your company stands in your AI journey. You simply go to priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai. And I also have a phone number, so get ready to copy that number. And I'll remind you that PRI Global has its own AI lab, creating, adapting, developing, pushing the boundaries for what AI can do for you. Here's the number, 636-689-0545, 636-689-0545, or visit priglobal.ai, priglobal.ai.
This is News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
Jimmy Kimmel seen leaving his studio Wednesday after ABC put Jimmy Kimmel Live on hold indefinitely. Monday, the late-night host made this comment about the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
In response, Chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee, said this about broadcast networks while on a conservative podcast.
And they have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Soon after, local broadcast groups Sinclair and Nexstar announced they'd preempt Kimmel. Then ABC announced it would pull the host indefinitely.
And the Charlie Kimmel program is no more. Oh, what a shame. I had never watched it all. I knew who he was. I'd seen it being promoted. I said Jimmy Kimmel. And he was sometimes hosting different awards programs. And I wouldn't watch those either, but it might come on when I've got the TV. All right, honestly, I'll be honest. I said somewhere playing poker and somebody got TV on, it's on, so that's what's there. But it was not appointment television for me by any stretch of the imagination. Not like the days of Johnny Carson. And Johnny Carson folks made a point to tune in at that time. They didn't want to miss the monologue and who he was setting up for his guest. Those of you who watched it either then or since watched it on video, past productions and so forth, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll tell you how important it was at that time. I was working at a TV station in Amarillo, Texas. That's right, Amarillo. Yeah, Amarillo Slim. Poker player came from there. In fact, he and I often played poker together. We didn't play big stakes, and then we weren't playing Hold'em because that game wasn't around then. We're doing 5-7 card stud or draw, something of that nature. Yes, I did win some from him. But again, it was never big stakes. Bottom line, I know I went down a rabbit hole. I do that sometimes. I stumble and the whole world's caving in on me. Bottom line is I was with an ABC station. We didn't carry Johnny Carson. But we knew that the audience was going to catch the beginning of his program every time they could. They didn't want to miss the monologue. They didn't want to miss who's coming up on the program. So our bosses in charge made a smart decision, actually, to swing our clock a little bit. Normally, we would go to weather a certain time and be done with it by 10:30. They actually decided to add some time on, and we wouldn't even begin the weather. And everybody want to know what the weather's going to be the next day. I don't care if it's West Texas, Hawaii, or wherever you are. You want to know what the weather's going to be. It's going to be the same as yesterday and the last 40 days and for the next 40 days. Or maybe not. So we would start the weather broadcast, that part of the program, maybe up to a minute before Johnny Carson's monologue would start on another station. And folks are listening for the weather, and if it's promoted right, you want to hear what's going to happen. Yes, we sucked a lot of them away. They hung around, and then when they went to switch over, they missed it. They missed it. And some of them probably got wise enough to get around that, but for a while, that's what we were doing. That was appointment television. Jimmy Kimmel and the likes that we have out there right now, none of them amount to appointment television. Larry Connors USA is appointment radio, right? And welcome to the second hour of Larry Connors USA, September 18, 2025. And reminding you, with Larry Connors USA, you get news, analysis, opinion, and education. We make sure you know more at the end of this hour than you do when we begin. I fill you with information, not just opinions, but also background, details, things you might not hear or get anywhere else. And we at least expose you to them. And also reminding you, when we're on the air, 6 to 8, Monday through Friday, we are streaming video for you to watch that you can watch at that point. Right now, you could go to NewsTalkSTL, Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. You'll see me. Hi, how you doing? Or you could go to Larry Connors USA, Rumble. Hi, and Facebook. If you miss any of that right now, you can always go to the podcast. And I know some of you can't stay with us all the time, constantly. I understand that. That's why we provide the podcast. So you can pull it up, listen, watch later when it fits your schedule. At NewsTalkSTL Podcast, LarryConnorsUSA.com, Larry Connors USA Facebook. And if you watch at a later point on a podcast or listen, please push share. Send it on to others. Send it to all your friends and like minds. You are our force multiplier. Oh, and also send it to your enemies. Go ahead. I encourage you to do that. Coming up later in this hour, Dr. Gilda Carl is going to join us. Now, she is a spokeswoman for the International Council of Men and Boys, also author of the book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. But what we're going to focus on with her is, are feminists leading the Marxist movement trying to sweep across the nation? Mondani is male by gender. I don't know that he's claimed otherwise. So he's trying to become the New York City mayor, but is he behind a skirt of a feminist? Oh, maybe they wear slacks only. I don't know. We'll get into that later with Dr. Gilda. But back again to the Kimmel program being suspended, basically shut down. I know they're probably working through some contract issues. And you can claim, and he will, free speech violation. But your employer does not have to keep you on because of free speech. You can sue and fight it out if you want. But I'm looking right now, he's already getting support from the left. CNN, headline, Trump's Kimmel shutdown shows how corporate America cows to him. Corporate America is bending a knee to Donald Trump. Well, in fact, they actually are, because he's doing a lot for them. It's not because of Jimmy Kimmel. But they add, the icing of Kimmel's show is just the latest bombshell movement when firms are caught between profits and MAGA politics, such as Bud Light. That's just one example. This is another one. This is a bigger one. But there are many out there. And there are those who are still saying things that it's free speech, but I'd call them out. There's a CNN contributor that is defending Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin as a love-torn child. He's 22 years old. He's not a child. He's not that mentally diminished, despite what we might think of him. Love-torn, he's in love, living with a man who wants to be a woman. You're going to hear from the Utah prosecutor coming up in a few moments on some of the exchanges of their messages right after Charlie Kirk was shot. And we also have Joy Reid. Yeah, Joyless Reid. She is praising a musician for a song. I'm not going to play it for you, but it shows her a video of her staring into her laptop, drinking wine, listening intently while a musician sings a song in which he calls Vice President Vance a fascist and justifies the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The singer does say, some people build the hills they die on. When your policy is lined with disregard for human life, is that not what we just saw in the killing of Kirk? The killer had no regard for human life. Anyway, goes on to say, you cannot be surprised when things like this occur. They're suggesting the killer did that. He had to show disregard for life because the MAGA people and Trump and Vance and others were showing a disregard for life. The disregard for life, I want to go right back to abortion. That's a disregard for life. He ends his song with, there's a fascist on Air Force Two, again, pointing to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk got asked a question by one of the university students at one point. Now, this might be a little difficult for you to hear, but you're an adult audience. This is a teenager in college and asking the difference between abortion. He said, well, what about masturbation? Isn't that killing an unborn child? And Charlie said, no. Unless the egg is fertilized, there is no child. The conception begins with the egg being fertilized. I'm sure that college student said, I have a gotcha question for him. I'll tell you someone who needs to get by the shoulders and hold her down for a while, and they even admitted on their own program on The View, Joy Behar is just all over the place.
People involved in the public deserve to know.
I feel as though. Take a breath. Take a deep breath. Take a breath. Joy, take a breath. I feel like we're trapped in a bad movie. Yeah. Like you've got these incompetent people running the government, and we're like a bunch of sitting ducks. You've got the puppy killer. You've got the Signal Kate guy. What's his name? Headset. No. You've got the brainworm. You've got, I mean, there's no end to the incompetency that we are experiencing as Americans. Yeah. So that I can almost not even talk about individual situations like this, because the overall picture and the elephant in the room is that we're screwed.
Well, Alyssa, oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to try to get into interpreting everything she was throwing out there. Nonsense. We do continue to learn more about Tyler Robinson, the one charged with killing Kirk, and his partner, the Utah prosecutor, reading some of the text messages they were exchanging.
The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, The roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry.
So that is what CNN classified Tyler Robinson as a torn love child. They're finding everything they can to make this guy look pristine. The prosecutor continues with some of the text messages.
Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man?"
That was apparently his concern. Now, you should know, and maybe you've seen it. I know it got sent to me. There is something called a Chicago gun, something you hold in the palm of your hand. It doesn't really even look like a gun in any extent, but it can have, it's like a Derringer, basically, one shot. And there's video while Charlie Kirk is shooting, or rather speaking, and that one shot, and you see him immediately react. There's video of a man in a suit standing on the other side of the guardrail and lifts his hand like it's up to his chest and like maybe he's pointing something at Kirk. And at that very moment, if it's not AI altered, which it could be, that's when the shot happens. But it's very light in noise. I'm telling you right now, I think the whole thing is a farce trying to start a conspiracy theory. They're trying to say this guy did. In other words, they're looking at a Lee Harvey Oswald setup again. That's what they want you to believe. Do not go down that road. But I will say this. I have not seen reports yet on the ballistics of the bullet that hit Charlie Kirk. I've looked, but I haven't seen from reliable sources what I want. We'll continue searching for it. Coming up, feminists, are they running Marxist programs now? Dr. Gilda will join us. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
I want to tell you more about Wellington Environmental's dustless blasting services. Wellington can blast paint, grease, graffiti, even stripes off parking lots. Truly amazing and powerful. But can Wellington blast something more sensitive? Yes, Wellington can use dry ice to blast soot and odors off smoke-damaged surfaces right after a fire. Currently, Wellington uses dry ice to clean mold off wood inside a home. Why? Well, dry ice immediately disappears, turns into a vapor. That means no mess to clean up, no damaged surfaces. You need to check with Wellington. always researching and practicing with new, better, faster, safer equipment and products for you. And it's very easy to schedule an estimator for your next project. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 644-4930. Be well with Wellington. McGuire Moving is silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. Another day must be another roofer in town. And John Beal and I were talking. He said, every time you turn around, there's a new roofing company. Many of them have no idea what they're doing, and the statistics show that many will be out of business within 2 to 5 years. Who are you going to call to help you then? You need to remember only one name, John Beal. John Beal Roofing. You have a problem, he can take care of it. And we'll be here for you. John Beal Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. I've got a great evening planned for you. We start with dining at the Oak Street Inn Lounge in Cottleville. We enjoy sunset on the rooftop, then down to the speakeasy. Just one visit, you're going to see why I'm always talking about the Oak Street Inn and Lounge. Plus, you might want to plan a staycation, a romantic getaway. Check out OakStreetInnandLounge.com for various events this summer. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville.
This is News Talk STL.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
All right, we're still in the process of trying to reach Dr. Gill. She's a spokeswoman for the International Council of Men and Boys, author of the book Real Men Don't Go Woke. But I want to share something with you. We're pushing the issue about our feminists leading the Marxist movement. There's another piece that they've been involved in, and that is that Charlie Kirk was right. Feminism has become much more about hating men than empowering women. And Kirk had made those statements. And he was talking about in a 2018 post, feminism has become much more about hating men than empowering women, as I just said. For a culture to survive, we need strong men and women, not strong women and weak men. And then in a 2025 interview, Charlie Kirk argued feminism misleads women by prioritizing careers over family. Having children is more important than having a good career. After a 2025 debate at Oxford, Charlie Kirk had posted, "Feminism must be defeated for the West to be saved," arguing a hyper-feminine society weakens family structures by diminishing male leadership. Now, is that some of what some want to claim is hate speech? If you don't believe in a man in each household, father, patriarchy, well, then you might go into that box and claim that there's an example of hate speech. I don't see it that way. We continue to try to reach Dr. Gilda. She might be finishing up with another station at the time, which that does happen sometimes. But here's some facts that come out of a group that documented a lot of this, and this was looking at everything around the world, everything from South Korea, New Zealand, U.S., and elsewhere, talking about the family unit. And that pointed out that over the past 5 decades, marriage rates have dropped around the world. In Mexico, Poland, the U.S., declines in new marriages reach crisis levels. Likewise, fertility rates in many countries falling below the replacement rate of 2.1 children per woman. And, of course, you've got experts warning governments have to consider the emerging threats to economies, food security, geopolitical security. And, yes, feminists seem to be elated by this crisis. They do not want men to have strong pro-family values. They just don't want them at all. We're not able to reach her. Well, that's unfortunate. But this issue about are women actually also behind Marxist movements? Last month, more than 100 women's groups in England wrote a letter about the long-standing problem of grooming gangs. They're known to have preyed on tens of thousands of young British girls to humiliate, abuse, and rape them. But the letter from the Rape Crisis England and Wales and other feminist groups did not plead with Prime Minister Starmer to step up the campaign to rein in the assaults. The letter instead accused right-leaning groups of hijacking the issue. Women's groups claiming that linking sex offenses with Pakistani immigrants is a racist diversion. And yet the facts were showing many Pakistani men were involved in doing this. Not just Pakistani men, but numerous. They say such claims, quote, reinforce the damaging myth that the greatest risk of gender-based violence comes from strangers. That damaging myth is based on reports by the Telford Independent Inquiry and other highly credible sources. But the letter from the British women's groups could be looked at as a string of feminist initiatives that are deceiving women so they can help advance a broader Marxist agenda. That's the way Dr. Gilda Carley and her co-author and supporter of the International Men and Boys groups are looking at it. They point out that female perpetrated domestic violence is known to be as widespread as the male-initiated variety, and that it is especially severe in lesbian relationships. But feminists continue to place ideology over compassion. Feminists religiously ignore the partner abuse program because it contradicts their well-honed narrative of a male-dominated patriarchy. And then we go into this issue where we are now with transgenders in women's sports. And I talked about this at the previous hour to some extent. A young woman hit by a volleyball, Peyton McNabb. It was spiked into her face by a transgender opponent, knocking her unconscious, causing traumatic brain injury. He was a guy playing with the girls. He was cheating, and he had more strength and ability than they did. If you listened last hour, you also heard Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii asking Kash Patel, is it true you're making women do at least a pull-up to get into the FBI? He said, yeah, they have to be physically fit if they're going to chase somebody down and throw them down and arrest them. Well, she said, well, some women might not be able to do that. Oh, so let me get this straight. Do you want equality or not? If you're going to be equal, you got to do the same thing. They want an excuse. Research is showing that consistently, and I've seen this in numerous places, but it's being pointed out by Dr. Gilda and the other members of the International Men and Boys Gathering. Research consistently shows married women with children are happier than single women. Yes, it's difficult. Changes your life for the better, hopefully. Puts more strain on you, understandably, especially if they don't have a man in the house. But children can also bring joy and laughter. There's a recent study from Brigham Young University found almost twice as many married mothers considered themselves to be very happy, twice as many very happy compared to women without children. I don't know how many were studied, how many make up that study. But I know by firsthand experience, I see it a lot. Yet feminist organizations such as the United Nations Women's Group place unrelenting pressure on women to abandon their families in order to climb the corporate ladder. When women do not represent 50% of high-level executives, the gender warriors hysterically accuse men of seeking to protect their patriarchal privilege. The Marxist utopia consists of a stateless, non-hierarchical society in which unattached males and women are free to play fluid, interchangeable roles. That's not what many women want. They want stability. They want lines and understanding. They want to be able to play a sport and not have a guy come in claiming to be a woman and beat the hell out of them. Who would go for this kind of nonsense? Those that want you to believe everyone is equal. We're not all equal. In this country, we all get opportunity. One may do better than another, but they all get the opportunity. In China, Russia, North Korea, you get what they tell you get, regardless of your ability. In other Marxist nations, the same thing. So yes, if women are looking to move to that side and accept that, we want more power, more authority, you're really destroying what you have already. And will be a rude awakening. Coming up, former President Obama wants to basically suggest the death of Charlie Kirk can be traced to President Trump. I know, it's confusing, but we'll get to it.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
I've got a phone number for you and a website where you can take a free, quick survey to learn how to use artificial intelligence, AI, to put your company on a fast track to the future. Here's the number. It's a 636 area code, 636-689-0545. 689-0545. This is PRI Global. And recently, the St. Louis Business Journal named PRI Global as a leading IT consulting company. 25 years working with hundreds of companies, several Fortune 500, locally and around the world. PRI Global has its own AI lab to develop what's best for your company. Take the free survey and be on your way to the future. 636-689-0545. 689-0545. Or go direct priglobal.ai. priglobal.ai. Larry Connors welcoming Tom Shaw Realtors aboard. Nearly 100 years helping sell acreage, homes, horse property. Call Tom, 314-283-5064, 283-5064. Hey, looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Anderson. Anderson products increase your home value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window, $729 off every patio or entry door, and ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service replacement division of Anderson. That's a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. Renewal by Anderson has FiberX frames, 20% stronger than vinyl, built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Anderson backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation, rbastl.com, or call 877-WINDOWS, 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson, superior products, exceptional service.
You've worked hard for your money, so protect it. Meet my friend Bob Leslie and ask about the Gain and Retain Plan. Leslie Consulting, 40 years in the St. Louis area as a leader in brokerage and risk management. Call 314-721-0066, 721-0066. Oh, and ask Bob how he was the L.A. Dodger #1 pick. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is News Talk STL.
Come with me now. Come with me now.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Former President Barack Obama is suggesting that Donald Trump is to blame for the assassination of Charlie Kirk because of, quote, extreme, end quote, personnel and policies that aroused violent opposition. This was part of an interview he gave on a stage in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm looking through what else is written about it, and I don't see anything in here where he says this is the kind of thing that led to Kirk's assassination. He just wants you to think that we're polarized right now in our nation, which we are. And he wants to wash his hands of it, saying he had nothing to do with it. Not so fast there. Not so fast. When Obama came in, I didn't vote for him, but I thought, okay, he's going to be our president by an overwhelming margin, basically. So he's going to be our president. He's got a chance not only to be, quote, the first black president. No, Bill Clinton, you were not the first black president. But Obama was, and he had a chance to reset the stage when it came to racial politics. He had that chance, but he quickly blew it. He quickly encouraged racial division, class division. And some of the views he had, he was already associated with radicals. I'll come back to that in a moment. But in his second term, I thought, okay, again, I did not vote for him, but he got elected again. Now he does not have to worry about running. He can basically serve as a statesman for our nation. And look at what all he created. He did create and add to the fires around our nation. But now he had a chance to be the statesman and say, let's come together and really work together. He didn't do it. But Obama referenced the Kirk assassination, says that Trump wants to use that as rationale for trying to silence discussion around who we are as a country and what direction we should go. And then he claimed that when he was in the White House, quote, those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the U.S. government behind extremist views. Well, it was Obama who started a lot of it, and on the campaign trail in 2008, he did encourage supporters to confront friends and neighbors, argue with them, get in their face. And then also, as president, he backed the Occupy Wall Street protests. Remember those? He fanned the Trayvon Martin controversy into a racially divisive crisis. Some of this I'm reading has been documented by Breitbart. That's the source I've got in front of me. I never try to hide that from you. Breitbart is right-leaning, but the information here is accurate. Trayvon Martin, remember, being shot down in Florida? Then you had Al Sharpton get involved, and of course that adds more racial division. And keep in mind that Al Sharpton, at one point, represented a black woman, a young girl who claimed she had been sexually abused and assaulted. It was all a lie. She later admitted the whole thing was made up. Obama embraced Black Lives Matter movement. As president, don't you think you should say all lives matter? The Obama administration had a lot of radicals in board. Not everyone from his far left past made it into the White House, but some did. Anita Dunn, she claimed that Chinese Communist Mao, the worst murderer in human history, even above Hitler, was one of her most important personal philosophical sources of inspiration. What? Obama had also met, he thought secretly, with racist anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. And you know, I now translate anti-Semite to Jew hater. That was before he was elected. There was a photograph taken of him with them. And when his people learned about it, they tried to suppress that photo. They kept it out of the news for a long time, certainly before that particular election, but then it did come out. And, of course, you had Obama pushing the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, despite many opposing it. Well, that could be a political battle. I would accept that. But he's the one who labeled the Tea Party as extremist. Bill Clinton, when he went into the White House, was a leftist but moved a little more toward the middle. Obama moved more to the left. But even by today's, quote, leftist standards, Obama is not as far left as some would be if they had the opportunity. And so many right now are focusing, oh my God, Jimmy Kimmel is being suspended and canceled because he made remarks about the killing of Charlie Kirk. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer, in a CNN interview, said, "It is outrageous. It is a page right out of Xi's playbook." House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries a joint statement from the House Democrat leadership calling for the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, to resign, accusing him of corrupt abuse of power. Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, of course, said Kirk and Trump are responsible for the most blatant attacks on the free press in American history. And Obama weighed in on this one as well. He said, we have a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. They never did it when you were in office. There was some I would have liked to seen lose their job or pay some penalty, but they didn't do it. I remind you again, the FCC is made up of 5 members, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and the chair is chosen by the party in power. The chair, Brendan Carr. He didn't get Kimmel directly fired, but he made it clear that when you get your license to broadcast, part of it is you must serve the public good. And what Kimmel said on the air, that the conservatives were maybe even part of the assassination of Kirk, but more importantly, going to use it as political material. And there are other stories out there circulating around that the Mossad was behind the killing of Charlie Kirk. And that the kid being held is just another Lee Harvey Oswald incident. I'm urging you, do not be dragged into these useless and senseless conspiracy theories. We got enough real things to deal with. President Trump has been in the UK meeting with Prime Minister Starmer, and they signed a big U.S.-UK tech deal on AI, nuclear power. It's a really good thing, enough for Trump to lift the champagne glass.
On behalf of all Americans, I offer a toast to one of the great friendships, to 2 great countries, and to His Majesty, King Charles III, a very, very special man, and also a very, very special queen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Yeah, this gathering the other day, I mean, it was full of pomp and circumstance. I think over the top a little bit, but it's the Brits. That's the way they want to do it. I think the dinner table was almost 50 yards long. That's half a football field. And trying to make sure everybody had a seat. I guess nobody considered that we put them all in round tables. We don't have to worry about that. And they'd all have a seat. But impressive. But I can't talk to the guy 3 people over because I'm going to lean around the back or lean forward or just go whisper in his ear. King Charles responded to President Trump.
As we celebrate this unparalleled partnership, allow me to propose a toast to President Trump and the First Lady, and to the health, prosperity, and happiness of the people of the United States of America.
Well, that's nice. We have U.S. firms pledging $150 billion investment in the U.K. with this tech deal that got signed. The U.K. believes it would help create 7,600 jobs. Prime Minister Starmer signing the agreement dubbed the Tech Prosperity Deal, involving firms such as Microsoft and Google, that they will pledge to spend billions in the U.K. And the U.S. is getting some of the action as well. Trump did make a point to say that in talking to the Brits that Your leader is a great negotiator. In fact, you might have gotten a better deal out of this than we did. Be a while to see how it plays out. We have a lot of U.S. businesses involved in the investment, so they'll be looking for profits to come out of that as well. Vice President Vance visited a company that has a long-standing history in our nation that a lot of folks don't really know that much about, and it's understandable unless you were around the area in Howell, Michigan. The Hatch Stamping Company. No, it does not make stamps.
This is a great facility. So it started, of course, manufacturing parts for M1 rifles for the American warfighter, and now it manufactures all kinds of automotive components that we rely on each and every single day. And one of the things they told me is that business got maybe a little tough, a little uncertain when they had a president of the United States who was obsessed with telling everybody to drive an electric vehicle because too many of those electric vehicle components were not made in America. But now that we are leaning in to great American-made automobiles, Hatch is doing better, the American auto worker is doing better, and President Trump and I are proud to fight for you each and every single day.
Job security for them. By the way, there's a consortium of investors, Oracle, Silver Lake, and others nearing a deal to take control of TikTok's U.S. operations. Trump has actually extended the deadline to banning the app to December 16. Wall Street Journal reporting they've had a significant development in trying to deal with it with this group of U.S. investors, but there's still some things to be worked out. Oracle, Silver Lake, Andreessen Horowitz expected to hold an 80% stake in the new U.S.-based entity. Chinese shareholders would own the remaining 20%. So they're working out those things in Madrid this week. It would still be an American-dominated board, one member designated by the U.S. government. Existing TikTok users in the U.S. would be required to migrate to a new app that's still being tested and developed by TikTok, but supposedly will be free of the Chinese influence. I add the word supposedly. So what did you learn this hour that you didn't know when we began? A lot. And remember our pledge, one nation under God.